But arrow pointing up, Jordan, I'll let you lead the way.
All right, we're going to start. We kind of snuck in the Atlanta Braves last week for the arrow pointing out. It was kind of the end of the episode. We're doing it again, but it's not really necessarily the Braves as much as the Braves in the All-Star game. But I don't know if you saw, they have the All-Star Futures game where they have, the up-and-coming players that are going to play, sort of as the lead up to this year's All-Star game. But I want to read the coaching staffs from the National League and the American League. A lot of Brave-centric guys, a lot of us just sitting around and naming some dudes. National League, Chipper Jones is going to be the manager. His coaching staff, Mark DeRosa, Andrew Jones, Tim Hudson, Tyler Flowers, Nick Markakis. Then the American League team, you've got Marquise Grissom as the manager, Jerry Manuel, who managed the Mets for a while, Marvin Freeman, Fred McGriff, Dale Murphy, Johnny Estrada. I was thrilled to see this being how the two coaching staffs for the Futures game was put together. And I don't know if I'll be able to swing a trip to the Futures game, but I'll definitely be paying attention. And some of those guys, if this keeps up, they might be in the running for the Braves manager job when it's all said and done.
Who was like your Brave that kind of made you get into the Braves?
So, like, the two obvious ones from when I was a kid was Chipper and Andrew, but my favorite one was Javi Lopez. And it's one of those things, I was a catcher when I was younger. And so Javi Lopez was the catcher at the time. And it was funny. My mom's dad, huge Braves fan. And Javi leaves for the Orioles. I think that might have been like the 2005 season. And then the Braves aren't quite as good. And I just always remember I would be over at his house. We'd watch a game because there was nothing else to do. And the Braves would lose. And I'd look at him and say 2 words, Javi Lopez. So Javi was always my guy, but also John Smoltz. And like I said, the Joneses, those were mine. What about you? Did you have a go-to Brave back in the day?
We're just showing that list. I mean, I would say, Marquise Grissom and Fred McGriff. I wore 27 when I played baseball, so I always kind of like Fred McGriff because of that. Crime Dog obviously was as a kid, you're like, oh, that's just cool. And then David Justice was another guy that I don't know what it was, like Braves outfielders. I'm maybe dating myself a little bit, I guess, in terms of like where, what my childhood favorites were. But yeah, I would say Marquise Grissom was the one where when you showed that, I was like, yeah, man, like that's a throwback for me. It kind of gave me the nostalgic chills a little bit.
My only other arrow pointing up, we're going to say Tom Cruise. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning coming out. A lot of promotion for that. Honestly, I've not been someone who's really gone through the Mission Impossibles. I think I'm going to try to do that to catch up. And I wanted to ask you this, Ben. We are of the age that grew up and Tom Cruise was like the movie star. So I want to ask you, not necessarily your favorite Tom Cruise movie. What's the first one you remember watching? Because I feel like a lot of us around this age were exposed to a lot of Tom Cruise early because, he was the biggest star in the 90s.
I mean, I think it would have to be A Few Good Men for me, just because I think like that's been a TV movie for as long as I can remember. And it's still to this day, that movie comes on and I watch it. Like, it's one of the better TV, like everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say TV movies, like the movies that just are always on TV. It's a Sunday afternoon. You throw it on. You're willing to sit through the commercial breaks or whatever, and you end up look up. It's like, oh, I just spent 3.5 hours watching an hour and 40-minute movie. But I A Few Good Men's one of those for me, and I think that would have to probably be my beginning of Tom Cruise.
I think mine is probably Days of Thunder, and I think that maybe that explains my entire origin story, just who I am. But if it wasn't that, I kind of feel like I'd vaguely remember like my parents watching Jerry Maguire, but not me being too young to really know what was going on. But I think Days of Thunder was probably the first one.
Yeah, there's some good ones. I wish we could have gotten on Tom Cruise's sort of media tour that he was going on through all of this. That would have been a nice addition to the show. I saw he was on McAfee today, so maybe we'll work our way there in the sports podcasting world. Was that your last one?
That was it.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna my first one. I've got to start with this one. Lake vibes. I don't know what you do for Memorial Day weekend, but I'm a big lake guy for Memorial Day weekend. I'm very much, the recruiting world does me a huge favor by making this a dead period. You can never rule out some kind of news happening during the dead period, but, I'm going into this weekend planning to have a couple of adult pops in hand, floating around on the lake. Maybe watching the Georgia-Florida softball series a little bit. Got some friends that are going to be coming into town. So I'm planning to, this is going to be my kind of one last kickback weekend, I guess, before things get crazy over the next few weeks or so. But what do you do on Memorial Day?
Usually a lot of grilling, but one of the big ones for this Sunday will be Indianapolis 500,
Oh yeah.
Coca-Cola 600. I
Coca-Cola,
got to
yeah.
shout out Kyle Larson, who's going to be doing the double. Tried to do that last year, and then rain got in the way of that Coke 600. So yeah, it's usually kind of low key. Don't know if I'll make it to the lake this year, but a lot of burgers and hot dogs, and a lot of auto racing for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I go to Lake Lanier every year. Some people, they say that's crazy. How do you go to Lake Lanier? They hear all the horror stories. I've been going to Lake Lanier for 2 decades for this weekend and other major holiday weekends where I can. I'm willing to take my chances. I have a great time. I hope that other people listening to this are able to get some kind of relaxation time this weekend as well.
Your screen froze for just half a second while you were talking Lake Lanier, and it's haunted. I already knew it was, but that was enough to tell me I'm staying my ass away from it.
For sure. But and most importantly, of course, shout out to the troops as well. I wouldn't be able to enjoy the weekends like these without them. So first and foremost. And then my only other one that I have, just a quick little update from a couple episodes ago. The arrow is now officially pointing up on my vision. I think that we might have 2 episodes left, I guess, probably, where I'm wearing glasses. Hope God willing. I probably shouldn't do this. I'm jinxing an eye surgery, but I am now on the calendar in June to get LASIK. And I'm looking forward to being able to see people without having to put these things on.
No, I'm excited for you. I'm glad it's worked out. And man, that first episode, man, if you are listening to the podcast, the first episode when he gets back without wearing the glasses, just go to YouTube. Even if you don't watch the whole episode, you've got to take it in, a very special occasion for Mr. Ben Wolk.
And if there's anybody that's listening to this that has had LASIK and would like to reach out with any words of advice or comfort, I am not the strongest mentally when it comes to anything eye related. So any words of encouragement or support, I would greatly appreciate. I have a lot of friends that have had it. I'll shout them out. Wolfson Eye Center and around the Atlanta area. I went in and I was doing my consultation, and there's a big Keith Brooking jersey on the wall because he's gotten LASIK from them as well. So I know that they have good clients. I know that I'm trusting what they're going to do. But that said, that doesn't mean that my nerves aren't high going into it. So anybody that wants to tell me it's going to be all right, I'm looking for positive affirmation for sure.
It's going to be all right, man.
Okay. Thank you, Jordan. I know your experiences with it, so I can definitely, trust your call on that one.